Happy Friday, everyone. I am going to be showing you today my process for creating 3D printed neon signs. So I'm not going to use the normal tools that I used to create 3D printed signs, but we are going to use some tools that a lot of you guys are familiar with. So you guys should be seeing my screen now. So we're going to be creating a 3D sign. So we're going to use Tinkercad, and this is Tinkercad. Let me make this a little bit bigger because I know you guys are on a tiny screen and this is horizontal and stuff. And I'm going to show you some files that I've created. This is for a sign that I created for my friend, and that's going to load. Let's see here. Hopefully it'll load. Let's just tinker it so you can see it. There you go. All right, so this is a 3D file that I created, and if I zoom in here so you can see it, it's just text, right? And then I have these, you see these sticks standing out. The sticks actually create holes. And I'm gonna show you how to make this sign or any other word sign, right? You can use this technique for any other word sign to create a neon marquee frame. So you can either use EL wire or you can use neon wire, which you can get both on Amazon. So EL wire runs on like phosphorus. It's just phosphorus coated wire, where neon rope is, you know, neon lighting, and you have to have clips, and both need a power source. And I'm gonna see if after I'm done with this, I can show you the two signs I created. You can actually see them on my page also. But we're going to create this. So Tinkercad is really easy to use. Like kids use this in school. And I'm not saying that you need to be super smart to use this or whatever, but you know, to create a neon sign that's 3D printed, you need to figure out like what is the text file that you're going to use or the image file that you're going to use. And then you need to prepare that file. So normally I would use Blender for this. But we're going to use Canva to create the words because I'm going to show you. Let me create a new file here. So I'm just going to click on the Tinkercad logo, and it's going to take me back to my page. You can register for Tinkercad. It's free. You don't have to pay for this. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to click New 3D Sign. And what Tinkercad does, it gives you this work plane. There is some text like in the basic shapes that you can add here. And if you wanted to, you could just 3D print this, right? That could be 3D printed. It wouldn't give you the insets that you need for the wire, but I can show you how to add that. You can't do custom text in Tinkercad because it doesn't come with it, because it's not like a text editor. So we need to create an image of the word that we want to print, so then we can print it out, 3D print it, and have some insets so we can add the wire. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to delete the word from here, and we're going to launch Canva. So in Canva, what I do is, let me make this bigger so we're just seeing Canva. I'm going to open one that I created. This is the file that I created for the word that I printed out. I was playing around with fonts, as you can see here. And all I did was I exported this as an SVG file. So let's create a new file. Let's do custom size, and I like to do 1200 by 1200 just for consistency, no other reason. And then, you know, if you've never created a Canva text object, Canva you can use for free. I have a paid version, but you get a ton of text with it. So I just start by adding a heading here, and I'm gonna add a word. This is the hard part. Let's do cheers because I just saw that. And then we're going to make it bigger. We're going to enlarge this to 200 so we can see what we're doing. I just like to center it. So you have a few options here. The first thing you can do is change the font that you want to use. So Canva comes with a bunch of like shapes already in the system that you can use, and you can just pick a font that you like. This is as easy as it gets. You don't have to change the color. You don't have to really do anything except type your word and type your font, and then select your font and create the kind of the word that you want. Once you get, let's say I want to use this font. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it a little bit tad bigger here, because I just want to look at it really quick. So when you're planning for your sign, you just got to make sure that you're going to have space to put holes in to run the wire. And I'm going to explain why. But at this point, we can export this. So I'm going to share, download, and I'm going to change the file type to SVG. I just like working with SVGs. You can do a PNG with this. Just make sure that the background is transparent, because we don't want a background on this. And I'm going to download it. And now for our neon sign, we just need to make sure that whatever it is that we're putting up, that we are going to have enough width in that font, meaning it shouldn't be a super thin font, because then it just becomes hard to work with if it's too thin. And I'm going to show you why. So, okay, so we exported the font. We're going to go back to Tinkercad. To this plane that we created here. And notice it gives it like a crazy name here. I'm going to double click on the name and change it to Cheers Neon Sign. Hit enter. And now what I need to do is I need to import my file that I just created, and it's in my downloads. So I'm going to go here. No, it's on my desktop actually. Let me go to my desktop. I'm going to choose file, desktop. There it is, my SVG. And I'm going to open it. And now for my neon sign, this is like what's going to be my neon sign. This is the words for my neon sign that I'm going to 3D print. And I'm going to show you what that 3D sign is going to look like. So it's going to bring it in here. Remember, I did 1200 by 1200, so it's huge. There's some little toggles over here that you can use to kind of zoom in and zoom out. So this is my neon sign right now. Notice it is just letters. It doesn't have any kind of inset where I can put the wires in. And I really want to have the grooves so I can put my wires in. And let me see if I have a picture of, maybe I could just open up TikTok here. We're going to get meta on this. And let me go to my TikTok. And I'm going to show you what the file looks like. So this was one of the TikToks I created. So this here is the sign that I just showed you. So this is what we're making. So I 3D printed the sign and I added EL wire to it. This is what it looks like. It's really cool. And you notice that it has that inset. So we're going to create that inset. See, it has the inset, those little grooves. That's where the wire goes. So that's what we're going to be creating right now. Okay, so we have our word cheers and we want that inset right in here in the letters, right? So the first thing I want you to notice is that this has some height to it already. So if I click it, this little panel opens over here and you can see the height is set to 10 and the quality is set to 8. So let me just show you. So I can change the height. I can make it taller. I can make it smaller. And if I change the quality, make it bigger, the quality just makes sure that the curves on it stay curvy, right? You can go as low quality as you want. Notice that here on the C, you can start seeing corners. So these are vertices, these little corners. And so we don't want to have a ton of vertices because that then increases the amount of time we have to print. So vertices are just those little angles where 2 points connect. All right. I'm going to set my quality probably, I'm going to set it to low because I don't care. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this word. So I'm just going to go up here and I'm going to click duplicate. So this little sign up here is just duplicated. So now I have two versions. See that? Okay. So I'm going to change the color on the second version. I'm going to make this pink and I'm going to lay it over each other. Now I still have the pink selected and we're going to mess around with the pink first. So we're going to create our 3D print word. This is the frame we're going to print for our neon sign. So I'm going to change the height on this. So I'm going to make this one probably, let's make it a height of 10 just for now. And then we're going to unclick it, and we're going to select the bottom layer, the gold layer now, and we're going to bring that up. And so I bring it up, there's these little handles here. There's one in the middle that lets you kind of bring stuff up. Boop, boop, see? Boop, boop, so I can bring it up or down. You just make sure, you want to make sure it's above the plane and not below the plane. So I'm going to bring it around there. Okay, so now with this layer selected, let's increase this one to, I don't know, 15, all right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to change the fill mode on it, though, to outline. And it's going to take a second. And notice it automatically creates that groove inset for us. I don't have to do anything. So now, for example, this would be great for a traditional neon sign where you're using the neon rope, because the neon rope is nice and thick. The EL wire is a little bit thinner. So for this one, I wouldn't use EL wire, but let me just show you. If we go here to line width, we can actually make the width of this a little bit bigger. So we have kind of that frame on the outside, which is a little bit thicker. So then you get like a nice inset. And let me just show you what I'm talking about, the inset. Do you see that groove in there? That's what we want. That's an inset. That's the groove we want for our wire to go into. So one thing that you can do here is figure out like where do you want your wire placement, right? So that's an important part. So we want to look at the bottom too, because we want these to be even. So we need to move this gold down a little. Let's make sure it's even on the bottom. Yeah, looks like it's good. Okay, so now the gold is above the red. These are 2 layers, and we have our inset now for the wire. The next thing we need to do is we need to add holes. So so the wire would be EL wire. So EL wire is an electroluminescent wire, which is like a phosphorus wire that glows. And so it comes with a switch, a power switch, and that's how you can create like your faux neon light. It's not true neon, but it looks like a neon light. So you can argue with other people around that, or you can just use a neon rope for this. That's why you would use the EL wire. This sign would be 3D printed. And if you don't have a 3D printer at home, you could still do this and go to your local library and print it out. A lot of local libraries have 3D printers that allow you to print up to like 3 prints per day. And so I would say have at it. Go early, because you'll see when we prepare this for print, the sign can take anywhere between 3 and 7 hours to print, and it's on quality because we're not using Blender, and we're not going to be optimizing this for print, because I want to keep this simple. I'm trying to do this so anyone who wants to create a 3D neon printed sign can do this. All right, so we have everything together. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I'm just going to click and drag to select everything, and everything should be selected. And I can just like make this smaller, because you want to make sure you know what your 3D printed area is. This work plane is bigger than my 3D printer printing plate. So I'm just going to make it smaller. And notice here, these sizes are in millimeters. So when you click on it, you'll see, you'll be able to see what the millimeters are right there. So this is 218 by 755 millimeters. And you can Google the kind of exchange on that. So now we have, let's go to the top and let's zoom in. There we go. Okay. So now we're zoomed in, right? Now what I want to do is I want to add holes. So the holes, you need it so when you need a place where you're going to, so you don't want your charge pack or your power pack to be in the front. You want it to like come in through some side. So we're going to make a hole for the core wire to go through. And then as you go through the channels here, you need to plan it out to see like where do you need to have some kind of hole where you can put the wire through and then pull it up on another space so you're not overlapping your wire. And this is just good planning. You could do it just with 1 or 2 holes. I like to plan it out. So to add the holes, what you're going to do is you're just going to click on here, and let's get our tools back. right here. So in the tools, you see this little box that's grayed out and the little cylinder that's grayed out? Those make holes in your work. So I'm going to grab a little cylinder here, and I'm just going to bring it to my work plane. And this cylinder is pretty big. And so for wire, the biggest size you need, I would say about 3 millimeters. So for our neon lights. So what I'm going to do is just click here. Notice this says 20 by 20. I'm just going to change this to 5 on each one, just by entering a number in the chart, and it makes it, notice that it changed the size of the tube, the width of the tube. Let me go over here so you can see the tube. It changed the width of the tube. Now notice it's transparent. That means it's a hole. So wherever we put it, there's going to be a hole there. So let's go ahead and let's drag it and grab this and put it here. We're going to put it at the S, and we're going to put one by the C. And I just want you to show, you want to make sure that it goes straight through. This one is not going straight through right now. So we're going to grab this little arrow up, or the triangle, and we're just going to make this bigger and then push it down. Oops. Let me change my view here so I can see what I'm doing, because I want it to be on the pink part, and then I'm going to push it down. There you go. So now, it didn't push it down enough. Let's see. All right, come on. I don't want to see that. I need this. Okay. So you see the arrow down here? I'm going to just push it through. So now the hole will go straight through. So there's a little bit of it at the bottom and some of it at the top. So that creates a hole where then we can stick our wire through. So this is all we're doing, is we're planning for like where are we going to stick our wire. I'm going to duplicate this, and you can just select it and click the copy button, and it creates a whole new another copy for you. You can just drag and drop it out. And I like to just make a few of these just by selecting it and just Control C or Control D to duplicate. Let's see if it'll let me do it. Command D. I'm on a Mac. Okay, here we go. So now we have a few of these. I don't know how many I made. Okay, I made 3. So now I'm just going to drag them to different parts. I want to, this can be an exit point here, just to make sure that I'm going through all the way to the bottom. So notice that there's a little at the bottom, so that one's good. And then another good place to add it is where there's any intersection. So I would probably put one here and here. One here, yeah, on the E. Probably one here, and then probably one at the bottom. So you're not crossing over like the spot here. We'll just do that for both. It's like right there. And this is all planning, guys. Like, you can put it wherever you want. Like, there's no right or wrong way. It's all whatever you decide you want it to be. I'm going to add another one. And this will be the last hole I'm going to make. Okay. Now that my holes are planned out, right? We know where those holes are going to be. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close this here. I'm going to zoom out, because I want to make sure I select everything, including those little tubes for the holes. Don't know if it grabbed it all. Okay, and then I'm going to go up here and I'm going to group it all. And there you have, see, the holes are made. Yep, our holes are there. I'm going to make sure these holes are right. Let's undo. So I think I want to push these 2 holes through, or the tubes through a little bit more, so I could see them a little bit. I want to make sure that those holes are legit. Okay. So now let's select it all again, and let's group it. And now we have our sign that we can bring into our slicer and prepare it to print. So now, what I'm going to do is in Tinkercad, my sign is already saved. I can't even talk right now. It's Friday. My sign is already saved as Cheers Neon Sign. So now I can go to Export, and I'm going to select STL. You can select OBJ, whatever works for you. We're 3D printing this. My printer prefers STL files, so I'm just going to create STL. And notice it just downloads the STL file. Then I'm gonna go, for my printer, I'm using Cura, so let's launch that. Let's see, okay, now we're in Cura. So this is my 3D slicing software. So you don't create files in your 3D slicing software. This is where you prepare your files for 3D printing. If you're gonna go to your local library to do your 3D printing, you can check ahead of time like what printer they have, and you can just download Cura to your laptop or computer and add the printer. Cura has like a bunch of different printers that you can add. So let me show you. If I click add printer, I would add a printer, a non-network printer here, and then you can select. These have so many printers that you can select from. Cura is a really good slicing software just because of the versatility. Okay, so I have my printer here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look for that downloaded 3D file or STL file that I created. And I think we called it Cheers, right? Let's see if I can find it now. Okay, here it is. Cheers. All right. And then notice it brought it onto my table, onto my workplace here. So saying it's not watertight, we don't need it to be watertight, it's fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it on my plane, because the way I like to print these, because they're so big, is I like to rotate it a little so it prints diagonal on my plate, so I have more printing space. So right now this file as is will take 7 hours to print, but notice the grooves in there. You can play around with your printer settings. So I have this printing at 50, a speed of 50. Let's say I update or made it a speed of 75. You can put it up to a speed of 100. On your build plate, the build plate is how you print this out. So meaning does it adhere? And so I like to do a brim. So brim is like, think of a hat. The hat has a brim, right? So when you do a brim print, what it does is it creates a brim around your text before it prints it. And I like doing that. The other thing you can do is go in here and look at your settings. So for whatever settings you set here, you're just playing around with your printer settings, but this doesn't save and like set your printer for you. You have to go in later and set this for your printer personally. So then you can play around like with the infill density. So let's say I want to do an infill density of 8. I like to keep the gyroid for text because instead of triangles, it creates like a different format. The size, because this is a thick, I made this the height on the letters really high. You can make that height lower and it'll reduce your print time. Because what it's doing is by each layer that it prints, it determines how long it's going to take. And you can change the quality on this as much as you need. You want to be careful not to lose any quality when you're doing this. Right now I have it printing as low quality also. So because it's letters, it's going to be a neon sign. People are going to see the neon sign, like the lights turned on. They're not really going to see like the inside of the sign. So I really don't care too much. But just notice that this sign is ready to print. It'll take 6 hours. You can say, okay, I'm going to print this at 100 speed. Let me see, where are we? You can change not the fan speed. Let me see my print speed. I can change it to, if I can find it, just lost it. I can change my print speed to 100 if I could find it again. Here it goes, my print speed. So you can play around with this. I can say I'm doing low quality. I'm gonna do a print speed. No, can't do that fast. Of 100. And now it's gonna take 5 hours to print. So shave some time off of it. But you want to be careful not to have it print too fast, because then you might end up with some janky stuff. So recommended print settings for this, for neon signs. These are my temperatures that I like to use. I like the build plate to be at 110, and I like my printing temperature to be at 200. because that ensures that I'm using silk filament. And so just make sure that that silk is soft when it hits the build plate, and the build plate keeps it soft also so it can adhere better. I found that with silk I have to use higher temperatures. But that's it, guys. Then I can just save this to my external drive, pop it into my printer, and print away. And let me turn on my camera, and I'm going to. All right, and you're in my dungeon. So this here is that first sign that I showed you printed. This is the brim. So this right here is the brim to the sign, and notice that it has grooves so you can put the EL wire into it. This one will not take neon wire or the neon rope because I created the grooves really small. My friend wanted just a small sign for her office. This was her request, the word and everything. This says chingona, which is the same as bichota for us Puerto Ricans. And it's just bad bitch. So I really like this sign. I like the contrast of the colors too. I'm using a multicolor silk filament, and I really like the way it prints. The other sign I created was, this was the first one that I showed. A lot of people have asked me about it. So this is a love sign. I didn't make the file. I was testing out the EL wire, and I just downloaded a file from Things 3D. But with the EL wire, it just has a little pack. You connect it here, and this has like 3 modes that you can do. So let's see. You can do that mode. You can do a blinky mode. Slow blink. Turn it off. Something cool for your office. And it runs on a battery pack. It takes AA batteries. You can find the wire at Amazon. It's just, as you can see, it's really thin wire, and it's just just a wire that's coated in phosphorus and then put into like a plastic tubing. And notice that, so if you look at here, this is where the holes were, where I fed through so I didn't have any crossover for this specific word. So notice that there's no crossover here, there's no crossover here or here where the letter would cross otherwise. It just makes for a clean look. And if you want it to look good, right? And then what I did is, this is where I cut the wire, and I just added a dab of glue to it there so it wouldn't like spill out. But I attached the wire to the sign using, at first I tried using a hot glue gun. That was a fail. And then I used, what do you call it? Super glue. And glued my finger to it a few times, holding it down, but it worked. It spent a few days taking glue off of my hands. But yeah, so guys, that's how you create your 3D file so you can print your own marquee sign to add EL wire or neon rope to it. You can get your supplies for the EL wire or the neon rope on Amazon. And happy to create a list of supplies for you guys. If you want to, just leave me a message. I hope you guys will follow me. I have more projects coming your way. This was a fun project to work on. Happy I can share this with you. I had a couple requests for this. I'll be uploading this recording to YouTube also, so you guys can catch that later. So happy Friday. Hope you guys have a great holiday weekend. And thanks for hanging out with me.